Hi class! Welcome back. Now, we are going to have another new lesson for today, and that is validity. So in our previous lesson, we were able to discuss about the norms and reliability. So if you have any confusion about it, I do suggest that you watch it first before proceeding to this video. So now we are going to talk about validity. So like what I've mentioned in my previous video, validity is one of the most important aspects that a test author, or yes, a test writer, okay, and also a test user and test taker should consider, because validity focuses on what the test measure, or if the test measure what it purports to measure. Now to discuss further, let's go to the next page. All right. So I already gave you a preview of what validity is all about in my previous lesson. But now let's define again what is validity. Validity is the extent to which a test measures what it claims to measure. It is vital for a test to be valid in order for the results to be accurately applied and interpreted. So in here, validity, like what I've mentioned a while ago, is if the test measure what it intends to measure, or is the test measure what it purports to measure. Like for example, depression anxiety scale should measure only depression, not any other construct. Okay, and also its items is very consistent in measuring depression as well. So in here, the question would be is that if the question would be does the test measure what it intends to measure? So is the for example, the title of the test, depression anxiety scale, intends to measure depression only? All right, so that is validity. Validity is the extent to which a test measure what it claims to measure. So now what is the importance of validity? Validity is important because it can help determine what types of tests to use and help to make sure researchers are using methods, or the right methods. So in here, the importance of validity is, of course, to know what type of tests to be used in a specific research, phenomenon, and many more. All right, and also not just only the type of test that you're going to use, also the type of research method or statistical method if necessary. Okay, so validity helps us to determine what kind of test, statistical tool, research method that a researcher would use. Now let's go to the next page. Now, I've already mentioned this in my previous videos. There are three types of validity. We have the construct validity, criterion validity, and content validity. Now, to give you a preview and for you to get the whole picture, let me define again the difference between the construct, criterion, and content validity before we go to it one by one. All right, so let's go first to construct. When we say construct, this is the one that we are actually measuring. Like for example, intelligence. So this is the construct, something that is we intend to measure, all right? Or the main purpose of the test is, or the main variable that we are trying to measure. That is the construct. Now, criterion is the criteria of the construct, meaning what are the criteria of intelligence? Like what I've mentioned a while ago, my example is intelligence, right? So the criteria, or the criterion, would be the criteria of intelligence. Like for example, how are you going to measure intelligence? So the criteria would be, first is the scores, grade scores, or the scores of the grade scores, the scores on the achievement test, scores on the emotional or kinesthetic or many more. Okay, so those are the criterion. Those are the criteria. Okay, again, construct is the one that we are measuring. Criterion is the criteria of the construct. Okay, and then when we say content, this is the if the test, or yes, if the test, basically content focuses on the appearance and the rationality of the test. Okay, so content, in simple terms, if the test, for example, the construct is intelligence, so the content would be is the test looks like an intelligence test, or is the test items looks like it's measuring intelligence. Okay, so it's more on the physical aspect, specifically on the face of it. All right, so again, those are the types of validity: the construct validity, criterion validity, and the content validity. So this three also has its subtypes. Now let's go to it one by one. Okay, let's define again construct validity. All right, construct validity is an evidence involves empirical and theoretical support for the interpretation of the construct. So like what I've mentioned a while ago, the construct is the one that you are, or the variable that you are measuring in a specific psychological test or in a research. So that's your construct. So construct validity is the one that is looking on the empirical and theoretical support of your data to the construct. Okay, so yes, to the construct. So such lines of evidence include statistical analysis of the internal structure of the test, including the relationships between responses to different test items. They also include relationships between the test and measures of other constructs. So construct validity entails to the use of statistical tools in here, because you're not only that you're checking whether the construct of your test is in relation to your theories and your empirical research. Okay, so for you to have that, you have to use the statistical tools. Okay, and in statistics, what you're just going to do is you're going to draw the relationship of your construct to your theory. Okay, so that's why it is very important if you're going to create a test, a psychological test specifically, is that you have a theory in it. Okay, so from that theory, you're going to get your construct. I mean, from your theory, you already have a preview of your construct, and then you're going to prove that using the construct validity and also through your psychological test. As currently understood, construct validity is not distinct from the support of the substantive theory of the construct that the test is designed to measure. So in here, the construct validity is actually just focusing on validating your construct based on the theories that you have. Okay, so it should give you a good relationship, and it should support the theory itself. Now, there are two subsets of construct validity. We have the convergent construct validity and the discriminant construct validity. Now, let's go to it one by one. Okay, let's define first the convergent construct validity. Convergent construct validity tests the relationship between the construct and a similar measure. This shows that constructs which are meant to be related are related. So in here, convergent construct validity or convergent validity entails to measuring if your construct has a good relationship to its similar construct. Okay, so to do this, for example, you already have the test. You were able to, yes, you already have the test, and you're now measuring on its validity. Okay, so you've decided that your construct would be intelligence. So your test would be an intelligence test. Now, for you to measure it, if it has a good convergent validity, you're going to use another test, okay, another test that has the same construct. So one would be the WAIS, or the Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale. Okay, if your participants would be adults. Okay, so what you're going to do is first administer your test that measures intelligence, and then after that administer the WAIS. Okay, and then from there you're going to get the scores and then correlate. So if there is a good correlation on that, it shows a good relationship, it means that your convergent construct validity is good. It means that the test has a good convergent construct validity, and it means it is valid. So that's for the convergent construct validity. Now let's define the discriminant construct validity. Discriminant construct validity tests the relationship between the construct and an unrelated measure. This shows that the constructs are not related to something unexpected. So in here, discriminant construct validity differs to convergent validity. So let me give you an example. So for example, again, your construct is intelligence. So you created a test, an intelligence test. So here's what you're going to do. With the same population, the same time, and also the same setting, you're going to administer your intelligence test. However, instead of using a similar test just to know the if there are similarities of the same construct, you're going to use a different kind of test. Okay, so for example, you're going to administer an intelligence test. Try to administer the opposite of intelligence. Okay, so like, what opposite of intelligence? Actually, there are no opposites of that. Okay. Let me give you another example, okay? So, for example, you are going to measure the extroversion of a person. So that's a personality test. So extroversion, again, just to give you a brief background, extroversion is the measure wherein an individual tends to be outgoing, sociable, and many more, okay, because the energy comes from the outside world, and that helps the individual to function more, okay. So that's extroversion, okay. So for example, your construct is extroversion, okay, to measure extroversion. So for example, your test would be extroversion test, okay, a measure of extroversion test or extroversion scale. So that would be the title of your test. And now you wanted to know its discriminant construct validity, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to look at standardized opposite of extroversion test, which is, I don't know specifically if there are, but what you're going to do is you're going to get the opposite of the extroversion, which is the introversion. So here's what you're going to do, okay? So first, from the same participants, same population, same place, and same setting, you're going to administer first your extroversion test, which is the one that you've created. Then after that, you're going to administer the standardized introversion test that you got, okay? And then from there, you're going to get the scores. And once you get the scores, you're going to correlate. You're going to look at the relationship. If they have the same, or if they have a positive relationship, meaning when extroversion goes up, the introversion also goes up, it means that your test or your extroversion test is not valid. However, if they have a negative correlation, or the extroversion that you have is higher, or the scores that you got has a higher extroversion and then lower introversion, it has a good validity, okay? So my point in here is that your construct should show a different result of the opposite of the construct that you have, okay, like extroversion, introversion, okay? So in here, the difference between the convergent construct validity and the discriminant construct validity is that in the convergent construct validity, you're going to get the same construct that you have. And if there's a relationship, it means that you have a very good convergent construct validity. And discriminant construct validity is that you are going to get a different construct or opposite construct of the construct that you have. All right, and it should show no relationship or a negative relationship. Okay, because of if there is a no relationship or a negative relationship, it means you already have a good discriminant construct validity. All right, so convergent, you're going to get the same construct. Discriminant, you're going to get a different construct from your construct. All right, I hope that's clear. And now let's go to the next page. All right, let's continue. In order to have good construct validity, one must have a strong relationship with convergent construct validity and no relationship for discriminant construct validity. So in here, okay, people who wants to measure the construct validity tends to administer the two types of construct validity, which is again convergent and discriminant. So once they have administered them, just to make sure, they check both of it. Okay, so the convergent validity should show a good or strong relationship. The convergent validity should be strong, while there should be no relationship to the discriminant construct validity. With this, you will be able to get a good construct validity. Now let's go to the criterion validity. Criterion validity evidence involves the correlation between the test and a criterion variable or variables taken as representative of the construct. In other words, it compares the test with other measures or outcomes, the criteria already held to be valid. So like what I've mentioned a while ago, criterion validity entails to the criteria of the construct. So like my example a while ago, if your construct is intelligence, your criteria would be the performance in school, the achievement test, and many more. All right, so that would be your criteria. So again, criterion validity focuses on the criteria of the construct. Now there are two types of criterion validity. You have the predictive validity and the concurrent validity. Now let's go to it one by one. Okay, let's go first to predictive validity. Predictive validity if the test accurately predicts what it is supposed to predict. For example, the SAT or the Scholastic Achievement Test exhibits predictive validity for performance in college. It can also refer to when scores from the predictor measures are taken first and then the criterion data is collected later. So predictive validity in here, what you're going to do is you're going to predict if your test or the criterion of your test really predicts the construct. Okay, let's have an example. Okay, so okay, okay, all right. So let's use the example here in Scholastic Scholastic Aptitude Test. This is Scholastic Aptitude Test because what is this? It is measuring is the ability of the student to perform in college. Okay, so in here the SAT or the Scholastic Aptitude Test measures the student's ability to perform good in school. Okay, so it believes that if the child performs good or above average in SAT, the child will have a good tendency that he or she will graduate with Latin honors. So that's what the SAT believes. Okay, so the SAT would have a tendency to predict the performance of the child in the future. Okay, so that's what the SAT is talking all about. It means that the SAT here has a very good predictive validity. Okay, in our school in Trinity, we have, I think, the Otis Lennon Scholastic Aptitude Test, or yes, Scholastic Aptitude Test. So LSAT in Trinity is also have a very good predictive validity because it's predicting the performance of the child in the future. All right. So how are we going uh, to um, to administer a predictive validity? So, for example, you already have you've constructed an intelligence test. Okay. So you've wanted to uh, to know the predictive validity of your test, if it really does measure intelligence in the future, because of course people believes that if a child is intelligent, he or she will graduate with Latin honors in the future. So here's what you're going to do. You created or drafted an intelligence test. Now here's what you're going to do. You first administer it to a certain or a specific population, like for example first year college students. Excuse me. First year college students. Now you already got the scores of your test. Now you wait, okay, until the student graduates. Okay, so you wait. So first year, second year, third year, and fourth year. So after 4 years, get their grades and then check if there is a correlation. If there's a correlation, it means your test has a very good predictive validity. Okay, so in here what you can see is that you have to wait to get the validity. Okay, you have to wait a certain number of years. Okay, certain number of years just to get the validity of your test. So that will be a bit harder, okay, from the rest. Okay, so in here you have to wait for a certain number of years just to get the results of your validity. So that's predictive validity. Now let's go to the next page. Alright, now let's continue. Let's go to concurrent validity. Concurrent validity, when the predictor and criterion data are collected at the same time. It can also refer to when a test replaces another test. So in here, concurrent validity is from its root word current. So what you're going to do is in here, you're getting data. So you've already administered the test, but what you're going to do is you're going to get data from the present situation. So instead of waiting, just like predictive, what you're going to do in concurrent is you're going to get the present data that you have. Like for example, all right, so again, your test would be intelligence test. Okay, so you drafted an intelligence test. Now you're going to administer it. So you've administered the intelligence test. Now what you're going to do to get the validity as soon as you can, you're going to get the backup data. What are the backup data? The backup data would be the performance or the grades that they have, that they currently have in school. All right, and also the tests that they've administered that are still valid. Okay, I mean the tests that they took that are still valid, that are related to intelligence. So in simple terms rather, what you're going to do is you're going to administer intelligence test, get the present data that they have, and then correlate. From there, once you correlated it, a positive correlation or a good relationship between the two shows that you have a very good concurrent validity. So as you can see, the difference between the predictive validity and the concurrent validity is in predictive validity, you have to wait, while in concurrent validity, you don't. You just have to. Okay, now let's proceed to content validity. So, okay, content validity, sometimes called logical or rational validity, is the estimate of how much a measure represents every single element. So in here, it focuses on if you're measuring, for example, intelligence, each part of the test should only measure or shows that it measures only intelligence. So to get a very good content validity, one should review their table of specifications, or TOS, or in other words, it's coverage. Okay, so if all right, so if they are measuring intelligence, they have to check how they will measure intelligence based on the table of specifications that they drafted before creating the test. So they have to measure that, to check it one by one. And also, the table of specification is based on their related literature. Okay, and the related literature should also show their theories or theoretical framework of why the test is or how is the test being measured, or your construct is uh, your construct is related to the theory. Okay, so that's it. So the content validity focuses on the table of specification. Now let's go to the next. All right, so there's only one way for to measure the content validity, and that's through face validity. Validity could easily be called surface validity or appearance validity, since it is merely a subjective, superficial assessment of whether the measurement procedure you use in a study appears to be a valid measure of a given variable. In simple terms in here, face validity tells you if the test looks like it's measuring what it should be measuring. So that's actually it. So if you have a test, okay, if you have a test that's intelligence test and you wanted to measure its face validity, look for experts, okay? Look for experts like psychometricians or psychologists that is very familiar with the intelligence test. And okay, so what you're going to do is get your table of specification, show them your theory, get them the definition or the operational definition of your construct, which is intelligence, show them to them, and then they will check the items one by one. And if they check the items one by one, and for them, it looks like it is valid based on the questions, okay, they will rate it, and then from there, you're going to have a very good face validity. So basically, face validity focuses more on the physical aspect of the test. It focuses more on if the test looks like what it should be measuring. So that is the face validity. Now let's go to the next page. Alright, so here's the summary of the types of validity. So the types of validity, we have the content, criterion, which is the concurrent, predicted, and also the construct. So you can pause this video if you wanted to know more about it. So what it is and how do you establish it. Alright, so I hope that few minutes was able to give you time to read this. But again, you can still pause this video so you can read it one by one. Alright, so that's the end for validity. So we only have one presentation for validity. I've tried to summarize it as much as I can. So I hope you understand everything clearly. So if you have any questions, please let me know, and see you on our next video. See you on my next video. Thank you very much. I'll see you then. Bye for now.